पुनीत प्रभु, ड्रेस पहन के आप अच्छे से कैमरा ऑन करके बैठिए, ठीक है? Dear Puneet Prabhu, please wear your dress and sit nicely in front of your camera with proper Vaishnava dress and put on your camera. Okay? We are giving this privilege not to just enjoy. We should maintain the same discipline, like in the class, how we maintain. Okay?
Okay, bro. Okay, okay. Okay. क्या बोल रहे हैं?
So we are continuing our discussion. So further, by elaborating the example, that is in the last sloka, Natma Dejana, in that prana example is given, that same example. That example is now elaborated. So we run Indriyadi Layena. So now what we are going to see today. So Indriyadi Layena, when these senses, false ego dissolves. Dissolves means they became inactive. It's not that they at the time of devastation, all these senses, they dissolve into their karana, that is Rajika Ahankara, and Rajika Ahankara dissolve into its karana, that is Mahat, and Mahat dissolves into Prakriti. So like dissolution is there here, but just there is an arrangement by the three modes. What is that? Here, what senses and false ego, they became inactive. So in that state, what is going to happen? So what kind of anubhava Atma is getting? Based upon that anubhava. So we are going to establish Atma is separate from the body. So Atma is the Sakshi, is the witness. And the next, this body is being witnessed, and Atma is the witnesser. So this point we are going to discuss. Now first we'll read the sloka and understand the basic meaning. Andeshu peshishu tarushvenischiteshu prano hi jivam upadhavati tatra tatra sanneyadindriya ganehamicha prasupte kutastha ashayam mrute tadanusmrutirnaha. This is the sloka, and the meaning is from the BBT. So it is from the 11th canto. So BBT translation is like this. Just to get this some basic understanding, I am reading this. 11.3. Translation: the spirit soul is born in many different species of life within the material world. Some species are born from eggs, others from embryos, others from the seeds of plants and trees, and others from perspiration. But in all species of life, the prana or vital air remains unchanging and follows the spirit soul from one body to another. Similarly, the spirit soul is eternally the same despite its material condition of life. We have practically experience of this. When we absorbed in deep sleep without dreaming, the material senses become inactive, and even the mind and a dormant condition. But although the senses, mind, and false ego are inactive, one remembers upon waking that he, the soul, sleeping. So very straightforward answer. This is what we are going to do. Here we are going to establish the difference between the soul and body based upon this sushupti. So the basic meaning is of this sloka. So once again I am explaining. I already read from the translation of the BBT. Now I am just explaining my words. Andeshu, Peshishu, Tarushu, Vinishteshu means these are the four kinds of the living entities. So the species or otherwise living entities, species which are coming from the eggs, which are coming from the embryo, which are coming from the seeds, and which are coming from the sweat. These are the various kinds of the species. And in all, so what is there? Life air. Life air is following the soul. So pranaha jivam upadhavati. Pranaha means life air. Jivam means soul. Upadhavati means anuvartate, means follows. So that means what? What we are understanding here? Life air is following the jivatma. In all these, of course, the species are variety are there, varietiness is there, but there is a same life air. So that means that means life air is not changing actually. Life air is same in all the species. So same way tatra sanne yad indriya gane ahamicha. So mane, what is the meaning of this? Indriya gane ahamicha prasupte sanne. Sanne means line. That means when indriya gana means the group of senses. Aham means false ego. When these both line, sanne means line means when they become inactive, when they get dissolved or otherwise inactive, when they become inactive, when they will become inactive, prasupte, in the prasupta. Then what? Kutastaha. So kutastaha means, so nirvikara jivatma. So kutastaha atmaha. So kutastaha means the changeless atma is experienced. How can you say this? Why it is changeless? Because generally we see the changes in the knowledge that is due to indriya bala. In the previously we have seen. So now ashayam, that now there is no connection of the subtle body with the soul. So that's why we are not seeing any changes. We are not finding any changes in the knowledge or in the consciousness. There is this one consciousness is there. So that means kutastaha means one consciousness, no changes. So that kind of one consciousness is there at the time of prasupti. How can you say tad anusmrute naha? Because we are remembering like that, because we are this is the meaning of this sloka. Now line by line and also word by word by from the so glossing, Jiva Goswami also glossed. From that we so my voice is continuous or the breaking? Net connection it is showing is unstable. Voice is clear.
Sometimes breaking.
Sometimes a little bit or more.
A little bit, not more.
Okay. Maybe net signal is weak. One second, I am just putting my.
So, Prabhuji,
Ah.
you were discussing whatever you were discussing in the Anucheda, we find only the Sanskrita words, but no translation.
Translation because I didn't complete. That's why it was not given.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay. You can follow the Gopi Prabhu's book and Bhanumara's translation. Okay.
We are follow
Okay.
the Srimad.
Hello? Tapo, my Prabhu, what do you want to say?
To Bhagavatam translate, we can follow the.
Yeah. That is also fine. Okay. So here now, Andeshu in the sloka, what is there? Andeshu is there. Andeshu means Andajeshu. That means the species which are coming from eggs. Andeshu means we should not take Andeshu, but Andajeshu should take. Sridhar Swami is glossing. Next, Peshishu means Jarayujeshu, means which are coming from the egg, from the embryo. Tarushu means in the plants, you should take in the plants. That means which are coming from the seeds. Avinischiteshu means you should take in the species which are coming from sweat. Svedajeshu, that's what it is. Upadhavati, in the sloka, the word Upadhavati is there, and its meaning is Anuvartate. Anuvartate means follows. Who follows whom? This life air follows the Jivatma. That means in all these species, the same Jiva, that means Jivatma is the same kind of Jivatma is there, and the same kind of life air is there. It is not changing. Life air is not changing based upon species. Similarly, Atma is not changing. That means the Atma which is there in the small ant and the Atma which is there in the elephant, in those both species, the same Atma is same kind of Atma, not same kind of Atma is there. So next, evam drishtante nirvikaratvam pradarshya darshantikepi darshayati. So in the drishtanta, the life air is not changing based upon the species. That is the drishtanta. What is the drishtanta? Life air is only given as a drishtanta. That is all prana. Prana means life air. Life air is not changing based upon the species. It is nirvikaratvam. That means no change in the life air. So drishtanta means example. That is life air. Nirvikaratvam means no vikara. That means no changes. It is shown in the same way darshtantika. What is the darshtantika? That means being exemplified. What is being exemplified here? That is, what is that? Jivatma. So even Jivatma is also not having the changes based upon the species. All the species, the same kind of Jivatma. That means Jnana Matram, pure consciousness is residing in every Jiva. Katham, that means how to say. So Tadaivatma Savikara. So how can you say? Just by the Drishtanta, by the example we said, like how the life air is not having the changes, similarly Atma is also not having the changes in the based upon the species. That is okay. But how can you say Jivatma is not having the changes? There is no change in the Jivatma's structure or the Jivatma's state. There are no different states of the Jivatma. How? Tadeva Atma Savikara Iva Pratiyate Yada Jagare Indriya Ganaha Samskaravan Ahankaraha. So in the Jagrita Avastha, in the waking stage, what happens? In the waking stage, these senses and mind and intelligence and ego, all they are active and they are all connected to the soul. So that's why there are the different kinds of the consciousness is produced. So different kinds of, since the Atma is, of course, it is alone and it is a single consciousness, but now being association with these senses and other elements, now the consciousness changes and various kinds of the consciousness. So is appearing actually. Looks like the consciousness of the soul is changing, but the consciousness of the soul is not changing, but because different vrittis of the and the antakarna are created, that we have seen different vrittis are created. So tadeva atma, that's why in the awakening state, atma looks like having the changes, but atma is not having the changes. So that means what you will feel? So sometimes in the awakening stage, you are seeing the tiger. Oh, I died. So you will immediately are feeling by seeing the tiger. So, and you are feeling, that means now I will die. Or otherwise you just fell down, some accident happened, maybe some small truck hit you on the motorbike. So immediately you will think that I died, finished now. So this kind of the experiences you are getting. So that means that at that time, what is your consciousness? That means the death consciousness you are having. Or sometimes you are feeling so you got that means here. So that's why Atma in the awakening state looks like it is being changed. That means the consciousness is keep on changing. But the original consciousness of the Jivatma is always constant. It is not at all changing. But because of the association with the senses, mind and ego and false and intelligence and false ego, so that consciousness appears as changed actually, but it is not. Those are all just vrittis of the antakarana. So that we have seen in the last class. In the same way, in the case of the Swapna's case, what will happen? This Atma and also mind and external senses. Now in the Swapna stage, so what will happen? External senses will be disconnected from the mind. So mind only is mind and the false ego. Internal sense is the mind. Mind and false ego only are active. So, but at that time, so that's why, since external senses are disconnected in this line, the chain, so Atma is not at all experiencing any objects which are outside world, which are outside to the body. So, but only the impressions which are created in the awakening time, so those which are stored in the mind, so those samskaras are producing the different dreams, and those dreams, the objects in those dreams are seen, are experienced by the soul. So that's why yadacha swapne tat samskaravan ahankaraha. So if you make a chain is like this is soul, single consciousness is emanating from this or spreading from this. This is false ego. And after that, mind and external senses and the external objects. So like this. In the waking stage, everything is connected. Everything is connected. So that's why soul is experiencing various kinds of the external objects. So now, what happened? Anything? Anything is there? Someone raised hand now. So now then, in the case of the dream state, what will happen? In the case of the dreaming state, this is disconnected. External senses and external object. This is the dream state. In the dream state, only this much will be there. Soul will be there, false ego, and the mind. But this mind is not getting the current objects, information about the current objects. So, but previously some impressions are there. Previous impressions, samskaras. So those impressions create dreams. And those dreams were observed by the soul. Soul was experiencing the objects which are created in the dream. Now in the case of the Shushupti, Yada tu prasuptam tada tasmin prasupte indriya gane sanne line ahami ahankare cha sanne line kotastha nirvikaraha eva atma. So when in the deep sleep state where there are no dreams at all, deep sleep means without dreams. In that case, what will happen? Even false ego mind, everything is disconnected. So now the soul alone. So disconnected means this mind is entering into the Puritat Nadi. So that's why this Puritat Nadi is there in the soul at the place of the heart. One Nadi is there. In that Nadi, this mind enters. So that's why soul is disconnected from the everything. That means false ego and also mind. So then soul is alone. That means all these are all inactive. False ego mind is also inactive. External senses, anyway, in the dreaming state itself, external senses are inactive. In the Sushupti, false ego mind both are also become inactive. That means otherwise they are disconnected from the soul. So that means the single soul is there now in the deep sleep, Sushupti. So that's why Sushupti or otherwise deep sleep. So in this deep sleep state, soul is alone. And Kutastaha Nirvikaraha eva Atma. This soul is alone and it is experienced as Kutastaha. Soul is experienced as Kutastaha means Nirvikaraha means no changes. No changes in the consciousness, same consciousness, single consciousness. But in the awakening stage, you have so many varieties of consciousness. And in the even dream state also. But now, single experience, single consciousness. So, kutaha, how? How can you, why like this? Why only the one consciousness? One consciousness only is experienced here. No variegatedness. So the reason is, in this deep sleep state, Jivatma is Ashayam Rute. Jivatma, soul, is Ashayam Rute means it is without Upadi, or otherwise without Linga Sariram. The soul is soul is in the, otherwise I can write here, in deep sleep state, Atma is without Upadi. What is Upadi? Upadi is the subtle body. That is that is what? Yes. Mind, false ego, mind, and senses. Of course, Atma is having the Upadi, subtle body, and also, of course, gross body. Gross body, leave it. Now there is no need of this. That means in the deep sleep state, Atma is completely separated from this false ego and mind. That's why it is said as without Upadi. So that's why Atma is experiencing itself. And there is no variegatedness. There is no change in the consciousness. The single consciousness is experienced. Because we have in the waking stage, varietiness in the consciousness is there. Various kinds of the consciousness. So the reason is the Upadi in the waking stage and the dreaming stage, Upadi is accompanying the soul. So that's why we do that Upadi only we are having the change in the consciousness. But actually, originally, there is no change from the soul. These changes are due to only Upadi. That is the main point. The changes what we see, what we just see in the original consciousness, those changes are the changes which appear in the soul actually. I am dying, I am becoming this, I am that. But that means what? I am means what? Soul. Soul is becoming like this, soul is becoming like that, soul is becoming fat. I am becoming fat, or I am becoming the weak. This is what actually? I am becoming weak means what is your consciousness? That means your conscious now you are thinking as a weak entity yourself. This weakness is due to what? That means now the soul is shrinking, is becoming the weak. I am becoming weak means soul is becoming weak. I means soul. Soul is becoming weak. Soul is not becoming weak. Soul, there is no change in the soul. But still you are saying I am weak because this, whatever the thing is felt, that weakness, that is due to the Upadi, that is subtle body and gross body. Due to this weakness consciousness of weakness is due to Upadi. It is not the originally change in the soul. There is no original change in the soul. Soul is as it is. Okay. Till now, any doubt? Question? बोलिए विकास को.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just one question, a small one. This
Hmm.
is about the nadi thing which you said that mind
पूरी
gets.
तत्व.
So yeah, Prabhu, so you said that nadi gets, mind gets enters into Puritat
A
nadi.
mind enters into.
Puritat nadi. Prabhu, two things to understand for me here is that first of all, what is nadi? Because we understand, I mean, in physical world, I understand nadi as arteries. You know, the pipe from which something
Yeah,
goes.
yeah.
What do you mean here by nadi, and what is this Puritat, and how does it kind of happens?
This nadi actually just spreads the consciousness to the various parts, and it's like a much is not, even I also don't know much about this, but this will carry it will spread. It is a cause to spread the consciousness into the entire body, and those all 70 some actually Gopi Prabhu gave, and also in the somewhere I saw is one sloka actually from the Upanishad, where it is saying that so 72,000 of the nadis are there. They are merging, convexing. That means at one place. That nadi is a Puritat nadi. In that nadi, when when the mind enters, then that is the deep sleep state, means something physically something happens. That means physically means, so this is soul is fixed only, but this mind is entering into the some area, particular area, so that it is losing its connection with the soul, and that's why soul is for time being it is separated from the subtle body and also from the gross body. And that mechanism, exact details I don't know actually, and I'm also looking, Prabhu. I'm also searching for that, so in detail to know.
One thing I'm speculating, and just speculating, so you see that if it makes sense, I am thinking, Prabhu, these kind of nadis must be not physical. They must be in energy or wave form. You know,
Maybe I don't know, Prabhu.
yeah.
So yeah, so we'll see. That means if the standard commentary on standard Upanishad only, it is there somewhere in the Upanishad. So, but not exact process mechanism and the detailed discussion. Need to see actually. Definitely, it will be there in the Ayurveda Shastras also, in the Ayurveda and also in the other Upanishads. Might have explained other acharyas. If I find, then I will let you know.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
So the point is now our goal is we want to establish this Atma is having the Atma's consciousness is always stable and no changes in that nirvikaraha. So that is the main, and that is the main thing we want to discuss. And whatever changes are there, that is due to only the subtle and gross bodies. So now next, nanu अहंकार पर्यंतस्य सर्वस्य लये शून्यमेवावशिष्यते क्वा तदा कूटस्थ आत्मा. So someone may say, if I show the screen to you, so someone is saying like this. What they are saying? They are saying, if that means in the deep sleep state, soul is disconnected from this. So they are saying, no, ahankara paryantasya sarvasya laye. That means false ego, mind, external senses, everything, they all dissolved. That means they all became inactive. So Purvapakshi is saying, in that state, in that condition, only the sunyam should be there. There's like a Buddhist opponent is like a Buddhist philosopher. So Buddhist may say, if all these are all dissolved, then Shunyam only should be there. And how can you say there is a Kutastha Atma? How can you say there is a Nirvikara Atma? How can you say there is an unchanging consciousness which is emanating from the soul? How can you say this? How can you say there is an unchanging consciousness is emanating from soul? How can you say this? So this is a Purvapakshi's question. Now answer is given to that question. Ata aha tad anusmritir naha tadaha tad anusmritihi naha. Tad anusmriti naha means we experienced the that. That means we experienced this is the reply. Purvapakshi asked, maybe Buddhist or the follower of the Buddhism. So he asked, Sunyam should be the remaining. Sunyam, that means wide should remain. Now we are saying, no wide is there, but Kutastha Atma is there. And what is the Kutastha Atma? How we are saying? Tadanusmritihi naha. Tadanusmritihi naha means, what is the meaning of this? Naha means to us. To us, what we are getting? Anusmritihi. That means tasya akanda atmanah susush. Because we are getting the some memory. We are getting memory of observer of sushupti. Observer of sushupti. What it mean? Actually, if you try to understand in the simple language, what it mean? It means when you went to the deep sleep state, soul is alone and soul is experiencing itself. And that means some experience is happening to the soul. Whatever the experience happens, that impression, that memory is created in the mind. It is in general phenomena. What is general phenomena? Let us take this box, soul is there, and this box is mind is there. And in the general rule, what is general rule? In the general state of the that means even in the waking state, if we experience various external objects, like we ate rasagulla, and also we saw some beautiful flowers, and we smelled nice kheer, and we smelled we heard the nice music. So some experiences happened. Who is the enjoyer? Enjoyer is soul only. But the impressions happens where? Impressions happens in the mind. The impressions related to these experiences are there in the mind. This is a general state, general sthiti, general rule. Now, in the deep sleep state, Jivatma is alone and it is experiencing itself. When it is experiencing itself, so is there any place to store that at that time? No, because this soul is disconnected from everything. But just you came out from the deep sleep state. So just in that moment, what will happen? Immediately at the last moment, his mind is connected back. connected back to the soul, then immediately you will be immediately after waking up, immediately what will happen? In that last moment, whatever you are already experiencing, the bliss. That means soul is being, it is a full of bliss. Satchidananda Vigraha soul. So that's why when soul experiences itself, then what will happen? That itself is experiencing in what way? So it is experiencing itself as a bliss. So immediately when it wakens, when we come out from the Sushupti, immediately Atma is connected to the mind, and that impression is, or that memory is created. That memory is created in where? In the mind. So that's what he is saying. Shushupti sakshinaha smritihinaha asmakam jagrat drashtrunam jayate. When you wake up, immediately one memory is created in this mind. Okay. When we wake up, so memory is created. Memory is created. Memory of what? Memory of soul. Memory of the experience of the soul. Experiencing the soul. Memory of soul experiencing itself. Memory of experiencing soul. Is, so the memory is created. And what kind of memory? Memory of experiencing the soul, or the memory of soul. Memory of soul, or okay, otherwise you can do this. Memory of observer of deep sleep state. That means observer. Who is observer? Soul. Soul is observer of deep sleep state. That means it is observing itself, it is experiencing itself, because it is not having any other connection. So now the point is, this memory, whatever is created after waking up, is the proof to say, so that means soul is there. What Buddhist is saying, there is only a void, there should be void. But we are saying there is no void. In the deep sleep state, that means when all these get dissolved, there should be void, they're saying. But we are saying there is no void, because after waking up, immediately we are getting a memory of, so memory of the observer of deep sleep state. What kind of memory? Memory of observer of, and what is the shape of that memory? What is the shape of that memory? That means what? Good, bad, of what? Memory of the observer of the deep sleep state, we get that the shape is what? The shape of the memory is what? Etavantam kalam sukham aham avaps sukham aham aswapsam nakinchid avedisham. It means this much time I slept happily. This much time I slept. Aham sukham aswapsam. That means aswapsam means I slept. Sukham means happily. I slept happily. And nakinchit avedisham. I don't know anything. That means what happened in that deep sleep state, you don't know. I don't know anything. This kind of memory you get when you wake up. When you wake up, this kind of memory you get. So means what is happening? So in the deep sleep state, this soul is alone. But when we wake up, immediately this false ego connects to the soul. False ego connects to the soul. And then immediately you will be identifying yourself as, that means this body or whatever. So in that time, that when that sharply, that means when it connected, so the experience of soul is there, that is immediately printed in soul is itself is experiencing. Now it's just connected to the false ego and mind. The whatever experience is there in that soul, that is printed. What is that? Happiness. I am happy. I was happy. But how much time you was happy, you also you cannot correlate. How much time you slept and how much what happened in that deep sleep state, nothing you will come to know. So just you will be seeing the watch and you are knowing that now you are knowing, that means before going to deep sleep state, you know the time that is stored in the mind before going to the deep sleep state. So that's why that is there in your mind, the time. And now you came out from the deep sleep state. Now you will watch the time. Then you'll understand, oh, I slept 4 hours. So that means 4 hours I slept. But I don't know what happened in that time, in the deep sleep state. But I was so happy. I was happy. You don't say, I am happy now. I was happy. How you came to know? That soul, when it is connected to the mind, then impression is that immediately the memory is created. From that memory, you are just recalling happiness. I was happy. You are feeling, after coming from the deep sleep state, always you will feel happy only. What it indicating? It is indicating that this soul is, by nature, it is pure bliss. That's why in that state, when the soul is experiencing itself, so bliss only is experienced. And no misery is there. In the Swarupa of the soul, there is no misery. In the Swarupa of the soul, there is no misery. From the word Sukham, you can establish this. And also, you are not feeling any variegatedness. That means when soul is experienced itself, that experience is not having any variegatedness. That means Sukham, only Sukham kind of realization, that kind of memory only is printed in the mind. So here, tad actually ananubhutasya tasya asmaranad. Ananubhutasya. That means one more point, one key point is ananubhutasya. Ananubhutasya means if you don't experience anything, one point just I am saying, if you don't experience anything, then that cannot be recalled also. In your life, you didn't eat the burger or the pizza. Can you remember that? What is the taste of the pizza? No. If you don't experience anything, then you cannot recall that. That cannot be recalled. That means that object. Or the taste of that object, whatever that means, that experience cannot be recalled. That means that experience, otherwise you take. That experience cannot be recalled. About that means the experience related to that object. That means here what? Experience related to anything you said, na? Experience related to the object. Related to object cannot be recalled also. So, but here what is happening? In the Sushupti, you are experiencing the soul. So that's why that memory is created. That memory is created when the mind is connected to this immediately. Memory, when immediately that impression is printed here. So that's why now you are recalling that. You are recalling many times in that day. Today I slept nicely. You will be telling to so many friends. After so many days, oh, I got a nice sleep. I was so happy. I was so happy. I was so happy. You are always recalling that experience which is printed in your mind again and again, and telling to many. Okay. So that means this experience is also what? Vishaya sambandha bhavat na spashtaiti. Since in the Sushupti state, when the soul is experiencing itself, it is not connected to the senses and other objects. So that's why there is no clarity. That means at that time, what is happening? Is there any music is coming or anything is coming or anything happening to your surroundings? You are not knowing those. You are not knowing those. The reason is because the soul is not connected to the external objects, because it is completely isolated from all other things. So that's why Vishaya Sambandha Bhava na spashtaha, that experience is not so clear. Not so clear means it's not so clear of the things, not so clear with respect to the externals. With respect to the externals means what is the time, in what time, what I am experiencing, what kind of experience, that kind of connection is not there. That kind of clarity is not there, because at that time soul is not connected to any external objects. External objects connected to the soul can be connected to the soul through the external senses, mind and falsity. Okay. Ataha. Question. Going slowly. Yes, Maharaj. Pranam, Maharaj.
Pranams, Prabhu. Someone may object, maybe even a Vaishnava will object, that you're saying there's no variegatedness in this condition of susupti, or so how can there be ananda if there's no variegatedness? We're
Variegated
remembering
consciousness is not
happiness,
there.
but what kind of happiness is that?
Chinmatra happiness. It's a Chinmatra. Baldev Bhushan is giving in his commentary there. So he is saying like this. Nanu swapad uttitasya atmanah ahankarena yoga. That means when we wake up from the deep sleep state, then what will happen? So this soul is connected to the ahankara, false ego. Then sukham aham ava aswapsam. So iti vimarshaha jagare siddhyati. So then immediately this experience is printed, and in the stage of the waking stage, we will be recalling that memory again and again. Jagare siddhyati sushuptautu, but in the sushupti, that means the impression, whatever is printed, the memory, whatever is created in the mind. So in that memory, the happiness, we always say I was happy, but what is that? That means what are the what kind of happiness that, or otherwise any varietiness is there in that happiness? Like if we eat the laddu, some happiness, and if we eat some gulab jamun, some another happiness. So some variegatedness is there. So can you show, can you mention, can you say some varietiness? Then we say that I have no varietiness at that time, simply bliss. So that means what? At that time, chinmatra. So here, that's why he is saying Baldev Jabashu Shushuptautu chinmatraha saha. Chinmatra means just it's a chit matra, just it's a simple bliss. So basic. Chinmatraha satta. Even when we do the Nishkam Karma Yoga, so I am soul. I am soul means one will realizing that it is just a state of bliss. But that is, it's almost all, it's like a one drop in the ocean of the bhakti bliss. So that we see in the Bhakti Rasamrita Singha also. Chinmatra Satta. Soul is realized as Chinmatra Satta. But when that soul is connected to the Swarupa Sakti, the objects which are created with the Swarupa Sakti, and at that time then, so Lord is giving these special senses to, that means special senses means those senses are made of not by this material Vairanga Shakti. So senses made of the Swarupa Shakti, Divya Deha is given to the soul, then that will be experiencing the variegatedness, then varietiness of the happiness. Like how in the material world now we are experiencing the varietiness of the happiness. So same. So that will happen in the stage for the Vaishnavas. Since there is no connection with the Jivatma, is not connected now with the any with Paramatma, or otherwise the energy of the Paramatma, that is Swarupa Shakti, which creates the variegatedness. So that's why there is no varietiness in that place. So yesterday Prabhuji was asking Gokulanand Prabhu, he was asking, soul is alone, but how it can experience by itself? Without the senses, how it can experience something? Gokulanand Prabhu. This was your question. Yes. Where is, yeah. Okay, mute, unmute. Unmute now, unmute.
Yes, Prabhu. And I wanted also to know what are the instruments, the karanam, that the soul will use without
Yeah,
separating the subtle body. So.
Yes. Yes, Prabhu. So now the same point is said even in the last line. Ataha swaprakasha matra vastunah suryadehe prakashavat upalabdhi matrasya api atmanah upalabdhihi swashraye astyeva ityayatam tatacha srutihi. What is this? Like you see, the sun is nothing but is a light actually. That light is illuminating the various other objects. And also that light is having the ability of illuminating itself. That light is having the ability of illuminating itself. So that's why you don't need any another light to see the light of the sun. It itself is illuminating, but also it is illuminating other objects. In the same way, the soul is the knowledge actually. It's a consciousness, it's a knowledge. And this is useful to understand the other objects. This consciousness of the soul is used to know the other objects, and also it is useful to know itself, or otherwise this consciousness is caused to enjoy the other objects through the senses, and that same consciousness is enjoy itself, like the same sunlight is illuminating itself. It doesn't need any other light to illuminate. You got? So that is example here. Swaprakasha matra vastuna suryadehe. Suryadi means sun. Swaprakasha matra vastuna. That means it is completely light only, and its own light. That light is not given from anyone. It's its own light, and that light, prakasavat, what it is doing? It is illuminating. In the same way, this soul is upalabdhi. Upalabdhi means this is a consciousness or the jnana is cause for the experiencing the other objects, and is also cause for experiencing itself. So like this. Any question you want to ask? Okay, at least some extent.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu. So I was wondering to ask you, I don't have any question in the today's class. I have a general question. Gopi Prandan Prabhu is quite often mentioning about Pippalayana Rishi. I just want to know about him, Prabhu. You might have mentioned in the previous classes. I might have missed it.
Pippalayana Rishi means this sloka is, Pippalayana is saying to the Raja Nimi.
Acha, in Bhagavatam.
Yes.
Okay, fine, Prabhu. Then I will refer to it. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we are running out of time. So one reference is there. Tomorrow I will explain this reference sloka. So it is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. And then we'll finish this Anucheda. And after that, very, very easy Anuchedas. These are all. And just like that, just it is like a theoretical. It will not take much time. So we'll quickly finish those. Our difficult part is over. Difficult part means, so some discussions are possible, so that is finished. And next after that, so we are having the 10 lakshanas of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and those we use those 10 lakshanas are there to ultimately tell about the ultimate object which is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So what is that? That is Ashray Tattva. To explain Ashray Tattva, other 9 lakshanas are made, and what are those 9 lakshanas and how they are ultimately establishing the 10th one. So that we have to see from the 2nd canto and the 12th canto. Now in the 2 places it is said. So then Sandarbha is finished. That means Tattva Sandarbha is finished, over. Almost, or it's like ending only. So this is establishing now. So whatever discussion now we did today. So that means soul is a witnesser, and this whole body is the witnessed. So this is establishing the difference between the soul and the subtle and gross body. So that is the main point we have to observe here. Okay, so prepare for this, and I will send very quickly, very soon, the question bank, or other not question bank, assignment questions, or otherwise like assignment questions, and I will announce the date for the final exam. So final exam may be more than 50, and I will give enough time. Within 3-4 classes, I will finish the total Tattva Sandarbha. Then after that, one convenient day, we can have the exam, any day. So we'll all together will decide that day, because if you want more time, I can give. So no problem, because any vacation, that is any one day in vacation, we can have the remaining exam. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.